This is TWiT.
Alrighty, it is time to talk about where we are when it comes to the smartphone. The smartphone? No, the smart home. It is a year in review, but also a look ahead. Joining us to talk about this is the Verge's own Jennifer Pattison Tuohy, who has been on the show before to talk about Matter. Welcome back.
Hi, Micah. Very happy to be here.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, everyone.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
My
and to
Christmas
you.
Sweater.
It's wonderful. And the lights in the background you've got glowing there. I mean, it looks great. It's awesome. So let's dig right in. So first and foremost, I think we have to go a year back, right? Let's think about how you were preparing for 2023 at the end of 2022. What did you expect to see from the smart home at the start of the year and then throughout the year? And what instead have you seen this year?
Well, it was very much a precursor to the launch of Matter. That was really much what we were preoccupied with at the end of 2022. They had just had the big launch event in Amsterdam, and we were expecting or anxiously awaiting a sort of wave of new smart home devices and upgrades to our old smart home devices so that we could embrace this new communication standard in our smart homes that was designed to make everything work more smoothly, more simply, more reliably, and also with more privacy and security, or more security. And so there was a lot of hype. I will admit I was probably part of that hype because I was excited. And I was listening, we were talking to a lot of companies who were excited too. And so we were expecting a big rollout of new products. And as I said, some updates to existing products. And we did get new products and we got some updates, but basically what happened was it was slow. It was very slow going, a lot of slow uptake with this new protocol, communication standard Matter. And it's been a bumpy ride for the last 12 months. And whilst there's been a lot of progress, I feel like we really are not where any of us hoped we would be with this simpler, easier smart home. I don't know. How about you, Micah? Is your smart home working perfectly now?
No. And see, this is the thing that's so disappointing is like you, I also had this hope that, and this essentially this promise that it was going to be what I wanted it to be. And here's the thing. The problem is I got a taste of awesome before it got bad again. And the taste of awesome that I had was Thread. Thread as an underlying technology was magnificent and miraculous in turning what were once like horrible Bluetooth devices into truly like instant means of being able to control my smart home. And I no connectivity issues, battery life lasted really long time, all of that. And so I was super pumped about Thread and thought, okay, Matter as the kind of overarching sort of octopus that connects all of this stuff together, that it was going to only add to my excitement. And I'll tell you what, there were 3 devices that I updated with Matter firmware. And from that day, I have not been able to use any of them anymore. I can't communicate with them. I can't connect to them. I've reset them, but they factory reset to the new firmware. So they're just bricks that I, for some reason, keep around and look at, I guess, when I'm wanting to get angry all of a sudden.
Just to, your little smart home morgue.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's so frustrating.
I have those too. I know. And it's sad. I don't know why that is the case. It has. And I think this was one of the big problems, though, and one of the big promises that got broken. Hopefully it can be fulfilled at some point, but is that our old devices in the smart home would come with us into this new promised land of Matter. And, to be fair, Matter is a connectivity protocol. It is designed to it's a language for smart home devices. It's designed to make them talk to each other. All the exciting things we do in the smart home, adaptive lighting, great smart home scenes that wake you up in the morning with your blinds raising and your lights turning on and your music playing. Those are all done by the platforms. That's not what Matter does. But what Matter does is make all of that stuff should make all of those things easy to set up. So you should be able to have this great experience in your smart home, even if it's just as simple as turning lights on when you walk in through, a motion sensor works. But if your motion sensor used to work and then you upgrade it to Matter and it no longer works, which it sounds like may have been one of your experiences and certainly was one of my experiences, that is not a good experience.
Exactly.
So that is, And I think one of the things I've really taken away from this last year is that we aren't going to be able to upgrade our existing devices to support Matter. This is really going to be a future protocol that helps the smart home grow. The only, the one caveat there is if you're working with devices that come through a bridge, because it seems to be easier for companies to update their bridge and then all of their connected devices can communicate in Matter. But those aren't Matter devices. They're just working through a bridge. So it's sort of a Band-Aid. And, like Philips Hue has done that. SwitchBot has done that. Akara has done that. So those devices are actually some of the ones that have worked okay for me, although I just actually published a piece today about some of the issues I had with Hue and the Matter upgrade. So it's not smooth sailing in any of those instances, unfortunately, but it's better. It's been better there than trying to add a firmware upgrade to an existing product. But going forward, I think we're going to see more devices that come out with Matter as its sort of foundation. And I think from that point, we can expect a little bit more reliability and more of those promises to be fulfilled. But that's also just really sad for all of us who have been in the smart home for the last decade. I'm not replacing everything.
Right. Exactly. I've already made my investment and I would expect that these items would work with it. I mean, and this is actually, it leads perfectly into this next question. There are always going to be new folks who check out the show, but who maybe have not heard a lot about smart home stuff. So first, tell us a little bit about Matter and its promise for a better, more connected smart home. And then we can continue to talk about how it really hasn't delivered on that promise.
Right. And okay, so Matter is a communication protocol. It's a language for connected devices to communicate with each other in your home locally. Currently, the majority of smart devices you bring into your home rely on the cloud to some extent. So if they want to tell another smart device to do something, it has to go up to the cloud, maybe through a bridge, back down again, and through your phone. And whereas with Matter, everything, just like you and I, we're chatting to each other, your devices can do that. And that should mean everything's faster, more reliable, and also you're not relying on the cloud, so more security. Mm-hmm. And that's the sort of basic promise. But the other thing that Matter brings is interoperability. So one of the issues, if you've looked at the smart home or been interested in the smart home at all, but not taken the leap, is, well, does it work with my phone? Does it work with the smart speaker that I have? Is it going to work with my partner's phone? And Matter brings compatibility with any Matter platform, and all of the big platforms are on board. Amazon, Alexa, Apple Home, Google Assistant, Samsung SmartThings, Home Assistant, everyone has sort of come on board with Matter. So that is one of its sort of big selling points. You buy a device that works with Matter, it should work with any platform you want it to, and with multiple platforms. So if I have an iPhone, but my husband has an Android phone, then he can use Google Homes and Google Assistant to control the lights in our bedroom, and I can use Apple Home and Siri. So that was sort of one of its big promises. And the other thing is that we should start to see more devices. Mm. We should have more great smart home devices, because right now, if you try and build a smart device, you have to go to all of those platforms and say, okay, how do I work with you? And for a small company, that's a lot of effort. So with Matter, you're supposed to just be able to develop for this one protocol, and then you can work with everyone. So, but that's also been one of the problems we've run into, is that not every platform supports every category of Matter. Oh. So there. And Matter right now only supports a small number of devices, device types, apologies. So your light bulbs, your sensors, your shades. So a lot of the kind of key parts of the smart home, but still not everything in the smart home. Locks are also supported. They did just announce a whole new slew of device types that will be supported, including robot vacuums and refrigerators. So it's it's getting broader, but we still don't have any devices from manufacturers that work in those categories.
Yeah, that's
so it's just been a lot of catch up. Like we're all waiting for it to work. And I think, one of those issues is maybe we've all been, I think perhaps they should have done this all behind the scenes for the last 3 years and then come out with it in 2025 and said, hey, look, everyone, it's great.
Yeah. Can you actually, from what you know about it, can you give some insight into the way that the CSA, NAE's Zigbee Alliance works because one would think, upon hearing what you've just said, that they've broadened the device types, yet there aren't any devices that are, fit into those device types that are available. One would think that, all of this would happen behind the scenes. So is it just lots of different people sending emails back and forth and someone ends up hitting publish before it's time? Do they actually gather in a room and maybe make a sacrifice to a deity and then they start working? Like, what does this look like behind the scenes and why is it such a mess?
Well, I think the reason it's so public and the reason it's taking a while is because it is a somewhat unprecedented industry collaboration. So all those big companies that I mentioned earlier are working together. So you have Samsung engineers sitting next to Apple engineers, sitting next to Eero engineers. Everyone's working together to try and bring this standard to fruition. But it is driven entirely by the people who are building those products. So it's sort of death by committee in some extent, I think. So, so they have what are called tiger teams. And if a company if someone wants to start, says, okay, I want robot vacuums to work in Matter, you have to find some other companies that want to work with you, which means you're working with your competitors. And then you have to decide how it's going to come into Matter. And then you have to get yourselves together. So, you're pulling people away from their regular work to work on Matter. And then say to the CSA, okay, here we have this potential addition to the spec. It will make robot vacuums work in Matter. Can you add it? And they're like, okay, well, you have to have it ready by this time. And if it's ready, then we can add it to the Matter train, because there's 2 releases a year is what they've said. And they've so far delivered on that. So the next one will be next spring. So everyone has to sort of get all their ducks lined up in a row, and you've got multiple companies, multiple organizations working together. So the reason it's public is because that puts pressure on those companies to do it. So, every time I write an article saying, where's my robot vacuum in Matter? It's more likely that someone's, going to hopefully, not just me, but everyone, you too, talking about Matter and saying, we want this. There's market pressure, and that will help bring Matter to fruition. So the more we complain about it, hopefully, the sooner we'll get it.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, that ultimately seems to be kind of the thing holding this back, is the design by committee. And, I was curious in the beginning, just when I think about the small companies that are involved in this, of course, the TP Links and the Belkins and not super small company, but these smaller companies that are making
Nanoleaf,
Nanoleaf, Eve, exactly, that are making these products, they have more of a dog in the hunt than the big companies, right? Because we used to go, okay, which team am I on? And then I'm going to get devices that fit that team. So it was, it behooved these companies to kind of keep things walled off in a way, the big ones, Apple, Amazon, and Google, because you would then buy into this one device type and get all Google Homes. Now, or in theory in the future, it's the idea that I could have a Google Nest Home sitting next to a HomePod Mini, and that's okay because all of the devices work together. So what do you think is the reason for those big companies to play ball here? Because is it just about, offering? It seems counterintuitive to what boils down to the very capitalistic mindset of large companies.
Well, actually, the main motivating factor for these companies to be involved is money because the smart home has not taken off in quite the way as was predicted initially. Primarily because it's so complicated, because not everything works together. So, one of the selling points probably of Amazon's Assistant is that they did a lot of work to get it so that everything would work with your Alexa Assistant. But if you've spent much time with that assistant or that app, you'll realize that just because it says it works with Amazon doesn't mean that it really does in the way that perhaps you wanted it to. So what Matter does is twofold for these companies. The biggest thing is if it makes it easier and everyone works together, it reduces a barrier of entry to the smart home. And in theory, many more people will start buying more smart devices once everyone sees how easy it is to use them. Because right now, it's not that easy. So we did a gift guide segment recently, and they asked me to recommend what smart home devices I thought people should buy. And I was like, don't buy your friends smart home devices.
Amen.
You're just giving them a pain in the ass for Christmas.
It's a Christmas
maybe
curse.
a light, maybe a fun light or something, but don't turn in unless you're going to be their IT department.
You're giving yourself a task in the future is what you're doing.
So so that will, once it gets easier, Matter is supposed to make, and it does, that is one thing Matter has done well, is that will connect. It's much easier to set up devices now. You don't have to download a manufacturer's app. You don't have to create an account. It should, in most cases, it's simpler. And if we can get there, make it as easy as pairing your Bluetooth headphones, which everyone knows how to do now. If pairing a device to your home is as easy as that, and how long did it take us to get it to be easy to pair a Bluetooth headphone to your phones? I mean, honestly, that has really only gotten easy in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So that's where they're going. If it's easier, you'll buy more of them. Just like there are billions of Bluetooth headphones out there, there's more and more people are buying Bluetooth headphones. More and more people will buy smart devices. That's better for Amazon Alexa. Sorry, that's better for Amazon, Google, Apple. And then the other benefit here for these companies is when they have a stable, secure connectivity platform protocol to work on, they can build more interesting experiences on top, like things like Apple's adaptive lighting and smart things, energy management. When they don't have to deal as much with the technical side of, making sure everything works together, when everything does just work together, if it ever just does work together, then these experiences will be a lot easier, and those are things that they could potentially monetize, and get some cash out of you for. I mean, if it gives you benefit, then you may pay for it. So I think that those are the two reasons.
That was a great answer, and very helpful. One final question that I have for you real quick. Do you think 2024, in your heart of hearts, do you feel this is the year we see Matter deliver on this connected home utopia? Or is this a growing pains thing that could extend a couple of years?
Yeah, no. It's not going to be ready in 2024, sorry. I mean, maybe your smart sensor that didn't work will come back to life and it will work. There may be some small improvements, but overall, this, again, to be fair to the CSA, who is the organization behind Matter, and they said this at the launch event, it's going to take a while until we're at a point where it is what it was originally promised to be. There's going to be improvements along the way, and hopefully you'll start to see some thread device improvements with Matter once they sort out the whole thread border router issue, which I think we talked about last time I was on. So it's a journey, as they keep saying. I'm a bit concerned that momentum will stall and companies will stop putting effort in. As I mentioned, it's quite a big effort for these companies. And I'm worried that is going to then just cause it all to fall apart.
Yeah, that's my concern.
We don't have an alternative, right? I don't see what the alternative will be to, other than going back to our walled gardens and our, locked in ecosystems. And to be fair, some of those work fine, but that's not for everyone. And that's not going to take the smart home to the next level.
Well, Jen, a pleasure to talk to you. Really great insights into the smart home. Of course, folks can head to theverge.com to check out your multitudes of articles about the smart home. Is there any place else they should go online to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm on X at JP Tuohy, and then I'm also on Threads. I am the smart home mama on there.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, and happy holidays to you and yours.
Thank you. You too.
Tech Break is brought to you by our friends at IT Pro TV, now called ACI Learning. With all the same fun of IT Pro TV, ACI is amplified with new solutions for all your IT training needs. Entertain your team while they learn. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit. TWiT listeners who complete the form can receive as much as 65% off an IT Pro Enterprise Solution Plan. You'll get the proper quote based on the size of your team.